Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Midnight Festival podcast, a late-night talk show focused around video games, dissections of video games, analyses, etc. Tonight, we're going to be talking about this great game. It's a midnight snack. Just a fun little game that myself and my boy Cole... Oops. I'm the first host. We're playing it loose. We're playing it close to the cuff right now, dude. It's like not a big deal.
Who are you?
Hey, what's up? I'm Jade. I'm the first host here. First of two total hosts.
I'm Cole. I'm the second of the two total hosts.
And now, tonight, we're bringing another midnight snack. These episodes are just kind of like informal, as you could maybe tell from just the minute or so of the podcast prior to this. We're just kind of going through a game that we both played recently.
Together this time around.
Together, even, yeah. A multiplayer game.
Cooperative.
Cooperative game, I suppose. It's not multiplayer entirely, but it's the game, the hit Square Enix published game, Outriders.
Outriders. People Can Fly, right? That's who...
People Can Fly,
That's who developed it, I think.
They developed it. Mm-hmm.
And they're known for their works, including such hit titles as, I don't know, some Gears game, I think.
They did some other game that I think has like a small cult following, but I can't remember what it is. But they, I guess they've proved themselves enough to be, to be hoisted up onto Square Enix's broad shoulders and have their game foisted onto the masses.
Yeah.
Foisted.
This must have been like an anticipated game. Because it hit the front page of Steam and it like exploded. Mm-hmm. Or it seemed that way to me. I had never heard of it before.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of it either. And I remember seeing some stuff like, yeah, I think this game was in, like, people were anticipating this game for a while too. And I think they like had announced it, years and years ago, and it got delayed, a big delay or something like that. And wow, this is just such a familiar story. It seems like it just keeps repeating over and over again, where a game is so highly anticipated, then it gets delayed, and then it has to come out in a seemingly unfinished state. And I think that's what happened with this game as well. Right away, this game was met with a lot of server issues, which is to be expected with a multiplayer game with such a big release like this. Like, that's fine, whatever. But there was this humongous bug, like within the first week of play, where it would just delete people's entire inventories. Like, that's game-breaking material to me. Like, that is, you spend all this time grinding out your character and stuff, and you're just met with that, and I could just see that would make me stop playing for sure. But that happened within the first couple weeks of the game coming out, and I think it's been fixed now, but it still was like, I remember a couple sessions we were like, should we flip the coin and just see, what happens if our inventory is going to get deleted?
Yeah, you were playing a dangerous game every time you went in, because, for context, this is an always online game. Even if you wanted to play single player, you'd have to connect to their servers. So you were risking, and it's a looter shooter where you would be grinding out all that gear for a long time. So you had to put in real effort to get like good rolls and help you get the high rarities you want. That's a lot of time lost if your character is just up and deleted like that, or their inventories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember checking the Outriders subreddit with our third member of our little co-op crew, and it would be pretty much every single minute. It's like at least one person every minute would report in that thread like, hey, I lost my inventory, this happened, this is what procced it, or whatever. Like, I just logged in and I was naked, my inventory's gone. Like, every single minute. It was insane. That's a lot of people. But
you said the server issues were bad, and I think the first week in general, and I felt continuously throughout all of our play, not an issue between us and our connection, but it felt like it must have just been the game always having weird lag issues with attacking enemies or getting attacked or abilities going on cooldown for your character. It was just so strange. Nothing ever felt right when we would be in co-op, and especially the first few days. It was just disastrously bad. It
was bad. I remember thinking of that the first session or two that we had where it was just constant the yellow little connection thing. I
yellow
was like,
or
unstable
even
connection.
The dreaded red.
Dreaded red, dude, yeah. And so it was like there was no way to avoid that. And then I remember like one day we had just good connection, and it was like that was the day where I think we played the most, and that was probably the most enjoyable day I think that we had played too.
Yeah, where we really felt like, okay, so this is our first real experience with Outriders. This is what this game is supposed to be like.
Yeah. But yeah, there's some huge issues I think with just how it has to be server side, right? Because like the enemies and stuff, I know, my roommate and I are hardwired into the internet. We have, pretty good internet connections, and we're hosting the game, right? So there shouldn't really be huge issues with that. And like when there's things like our roomie here he was doing the bullet build or whatever, when I guess you had to kill an enemy with something to like refresh your clip, and he like could not get it down whenever like his game server was being hosted by one of us. But for some reason when he hosted it, like, he could get it just seemed like the timing or something was just slightly off kilter for your abilities and for their cooldowns and everything, where it just like made everything super inconvenient.
Yeah.
To try to maintain your like rotation or whatever. It was weird. But yeah, big server issues. Don't get it. Not, hopefully that gets ironed out at some point, but it just seems, I mean, I'm done playing.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter to me, I guess, but
it was just too late. It was a poor launch, I think, and it just goes to show, these always online games, what good ever comes of them? What game has succeeded, doing that, and what is the point? What was the point? 2. That game hasn't
Isn't always online?
I have not played the game, so I'm not sure.
Oh, I mean, Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Oh, no, you can play that game offline, I'm almost positive.
Oh, okay. Never mind. You just need those online features.
There just happens to be an online component. No, you don't need them in that game. This is more like a, everyone knows that Sim City or whatever it was that came out a long time ago, that was the first one that had always online, and it just bombed so hard. And the thing is, it's not like this is an MMO or something. This is just a shooter. This is a third-person shooter with just like a campaign, and you just grind at the end.
There's no big hub where you can see other players other than your just tiny squad.
So what is the point of the authentication servers that you're hooked up to, that you're forced to obey, and those are what caused all these problems almost assuredly. Just to stop people from cheating or something in their own games.
Yeah, it's strange. Yeah, this isn't an MMO. The progression is almost... Yeah, it's all based around... there's a big story that's like... I don't know, man. That's just weird. It's just weird to me.
People kept comparing this game to Destiny, I saw, and that didn't really feel super true to me, aside maybe like, you shoot, you have abilities, and the UI.
Yeah.
To me, it was more like, controlling your character was like Gears of War, but to me, it felt really floaty. And then the whole loot element was more like Borderlands, Diablo-esque.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. it was an interesting like marriage of different gameplay elements, and I think they succeeded on some of those like combinations, but some of them were really lackluster as well. Like the shooting didn't feel good. The shooting never really felt very good for me. Like the gun. I think it might be like part of the sound design. The guns felt just weak as fuck.
The sound design in that game was all over the place.
Yeah, like I think I had more fun just doing my abilities than anything. And guns, I just did not find a lot of enjoyment with any of the guns really. And I think at one time it was fun running around with like a shotgun and just like hip firing, blasting dudes. Like that was probably the only fun I had with guns. Otherwise, it was just like they felt really like they just like, you know, shooting an assault rifle felt like you were just slapping enemies with a wet bag rather than like shooting them with a gun.
Yeah, I think it felt better earlier in the game with guns, but as the game progresses, it's a very numbers-based game. As everything got spongier, you know, they just outside of you'd have to start relying on your abilities more. And you know, this game you can have 3 abilities on at any time, so it felt like those were a focus of the game. That's what you want to play with. That's why you play Outriders. Otherwise, you just play a better shooter.
Yeah.
So I think that's almost okay.
Yeah, I suppose it's. I'll give it a pass, but
it's a pass. I wouldn't give them a pat on the back for making their abilities interesting, because you know only some of them were kind of interesting, and the build diversity, you know, as we found out later, wasn't super entertaining. But we don't have to go there right now.
Yeah, that's probably going to be a big piece of the puzzle later, I assume. But. Yeah, I think my, I found that, you know, getting mods and like when I started this game, I thought it would be, I didn't have too high of hopes for it. And part of me was almost a little bit pleasantly surprised initially with like, you know, when you start unlocking mods and more like augmentations to your skills and stuff like that, and your like abilities that you get, I was like, okay, this game's a little more in depth.
And the skill tree.
Yeah, I thought, you know, it was a pleasant surprise because I didn't think it was going to be as in depth as it was, and it did seem like, you know, there are different ways to go about building your character that, you know, can be completely unique and cool, but. Yeah, we'll get into all that stuff later, but it's just that was also kind of a big a letdown as well. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, just jumping back into our like initial perspective of the game when we first got our hands on it. Yeah, once you just get mods and you can start playing around with them, like that's one of the highlights of the game, I think. Just the way that you like dismantle gear that have mods on them, and then you can just put a mod. You can put whatever mod you want onto your gear. It took me a while to wrap my head around like how freeing that was. You could just play around with shit to your heart's content. Yeah, that was very cool. Like it wasn't too punishing to just like, oh, I'm gonna swap this one out and try this. You know, switch skills around and you know, then you just plop a new mod in if you just want to try a new ability out. Like it was good. It was pretty fluid, especially in the beginning. Yeah, just shooting guys, and then you can have like swords drop on them or like freeze people and whatever. That's cool. Yeah, there's some really cool like gun. Yeah, and there's both weapon and armor mods that do separate things. Yeah, augment your abilities too. Yeah, so like weapon mods can like you can apply bleed to enemies. Like for example, you know, right away my class I picked the Devastator. And there's like a skill tree node that lets you regain health from enemies afflicted with bleed. So if you just like build your guns and give them mods to have, you know, put bleed on enemies and just like, you know, pepper every enemy with bleed, then you can like never die. And so it's like really, really cool, you know, how there are options like that. And it's just like really fun to just play around with that. And there's like 8 abilities, I think, 8 skills. Was it 8? Yeah, something like that. We'll go with 8. Like every class had like 8 or 6. I think it's 8. Maybe it's 7.
every class has like between 6 and 8 abilities
Yeah.
that you can use, and they were all, well, not they were all, but like they all had like special uses, at least for my class. I didn't see,
they all had
the
little
other
properties.
classes.
Like there was just damage stuff, and they would have they would have little names describing kind of like what their effect was within your own class.
Yeah,
I remember that
Yep.
fire one had like explosion abilities and ignite abilities or something, and then mods or skill tree nodes would play off of those types of abilities, those keywords.
Yeah, that was cool. I and the fact that you can get ability mods that completely change like how you use those abilities too, which is pretty cool. It's almost like a whole extra layer, you know what I mean, of use for these things. I guess I'm trying to think of an example. Like the earthquake ability that I had, I can use that to gain shields from guys, or I could use that to like reduce enemy shields, or I could use my seismic jump to just heal, like it'll just absorb a bunch of health. And then there's like, there's just really cool like how it changes sort of how you use your abilities and when you want to use them. I really enjoyed building that for a while. It was very fun.
Yeah, I was going, I played the Trickster, and I really liked their first ability was this little sword that turned guys into skeletons, and then they'd explode.
Yeah.
That was like really fun as we were playing, and then just jumping around onto guys. There were mods for me that would let me jump and then apply big AoE slows, or it would make them take more damage. I wish that the functionality could have been altered a little more. It was usually just like, do the ability and it has a bonus or something, but
It does an extra thing.
it does extra thing. There was one from a legendary piece of gear I remember that was like, throw your bouncing knife, and once it finishes bouncing, it does it again. It bounces to all the same guys again. That was probably the most notable thing I remember seeing. And that was cool, but, another interesting facet of the abilities and mods.
Yeah. The legendary mods were certainly very cool, certainly very substantial, but very rare to get.
Oh, yeah, we didn't get our first legendary until, like, the end of the game, right?
Yeah. And this game has like a pretty interesting system of the world tiers, where like you learn. This is pretty big too. But like you earn for killing guys and running around and doing quests and stuff. You earn like world experience alongside your character experience, and this you can level up your world tier, which is basically like your world difficulty, which adds increased chances for better loot and stuff, but also just turns the enemies into like bullet sponges that just hit you harder.
Yeah, it's like a Torment in Diablo, or like New Game Plus and Borderlands, those true Vault Hunter mode. It's just like those, but like you ramp it up as you play the game.
Yeah, and for a while we were going pretty hard on like, once we'd unlock a world tier, we would just go to the next one.
Yeah, the option is defaulted to, as soon as you unlock a new one, it just jumps up to that. Like, that's the default setting of the game.
Yeah. I'll never forget the trenches. I'll never forget those trenches.
Oh my god, the World War I trench mission.
Yeah, that was like,
Wake
I'm
up
sure
call.
everyone who played this game and had that world tier turned on and was trying to do the same thing, I'm sure they all had an exact moment just like that. Maybe not at the same time, but a moment where you hit that next world tier and your gear is just like, it falls off so much with just each single enemy level, basically. Where, because, the level gains later in the game are exponential.
Yep.
Like, they're fucking huge. So like between level 26 and 27 can be like a jump of 1,000 plus points of attack or whatever for your guns. And it's just like
in
your
a game
world
where
tier,
you
the
probably
enemies
start
will just
off with
level
like
up.
13 damage at level 1 on your gun or something like that, and then it goes to the tens of thousands by level 30 or whatever.
Yeah, your guns start just showing like 11 point what K or 110,000.
Yeah, it's like a clicker game in terms of exponential gains.
Yeah, exactly.
And when the enemies are
Yeah.
outscaling you, like in the middle of the campaign, before you can even settle into anything, still scrounging for blue tier gear.
The trenches are a great trench story. It took us it felt like an eternity.
It felt
of,
like
of just
actual,
shooting
like an
guys.
actual war, a whole war
Yeah.
lifetime.
It felt like a real war, shooting the same guy in the head for like 10 minutes to kill him.
Yeah,
Just
all
like
three
World War
people
I.
surrounding a guy and just blasting him in the head.
That was like the most surreal moment I think I've had at playing a game recently, and I played Cyberpunk 2077 and beat it. And that to me was like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, I had this moment where I was just like, why is this happening?
Yeah.
Why am I playing this? That was bad.
We came to the realization later that a funny thing in the game is all of your abilities, the big selling point of this game, really, I think, your abilities are tied to an ability power, which is like a separate thing from your gun power, your firepower. And that was mostly scaled on just the level of your character and your gear. And since the whole idea of this world level thing is the enemies are just scaling past whatever the natural curve of your gear is, your abilities would just fall off instantly, and you'd have to rely on your guns. But so, myself, I was going an ability build, and I really quickly realized I was doing next to no damage. I was useless. I had to completely change my build in order to play on those world tiers that we were on.
Yeah. That's another problem with the builds in the game, for sure. And I know we'll be digging in.
It gets way worse later, but just in terms of the campaign, it was like that whole world tier thing, setting it instantly higher, and then the way that the ability damage worked, it's like a trap for anyone who's playing like that.
Yeah, it really is. There's got to be a point where everyone reached doing that world tier thing, the world tier ascension, just like we were, where they were also shooting a guy in the head for 10 minutes straight, and realized like, okay, maybe this isn't it. Maybe this ain't it.
And that ain't it, Chief.
But, yeah, it was good. It was, I think we kept it at that world tier. And we didn't descend
We did
it.
press on, but we had to.
Yeah.
We had to rethink our strategy big time. Make some I had to make fundamental changes in order to stay in the game.
Yeah, and for me, I was, this is another.
You sound demoralized to this day. Some say he's demoralized to this day.
Yeah, for my character, I was just basically there to displace enemies sometimes and interrupt and to get my friends up,
revive
and
us.
Otherwise it was like you guys were doing all the damage.
It was our third. It was our third for most of the campaign until I switched, and then I could do something.
Yeah, so it's interesting, I guess, how the builds and classes work in the game, but we'll be cutting that. We'll be seeing if we could chew that piece later. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the campaign, the game, pretty funny. I think I had a lot of fun. It was really fun to play it with you guys and watch the cutscenes together and just laugh.
Yeah.
Because it's the funniest game of all time. And there's it doesn't feel like it's trying to be, but it's such a fucking a B movie game. Where it's just it seems like it's trying so hard to be edgy and cool and badass, but it's the cringiest, funniest thing of all time.
It's so weird. Yeah, the beginning of the game sets up this didn't you? Yeah, you did compare it to Xenoblade Chronicles X at one point, didn't you? Or I've seen that. I've seen
the
that
beginning
comparison.
is the same.
The whole colonization of another planet, and then they just get messed up in the middle of space.
Yeah.
And that seemed
And
like
you're just
that was
stuck.
that seemed like it was going to be interesting, or there would be a cool narrative, but things just are all over the place so quick, and the whole journey is, it was funnier than anything I could have imagined.
Yeah, for sure. And like, you know, some of the lore seemed cool. Like I liked hearing about like Earth, and you know, I thought it was gonna, I definitely thought it was gonna go in a different direction that I thought would have been cooler.
I was reading the lore in the intro of the game.
Yeah.
But
it seemed enticing. It seemed enticing in the beginning, like hearing about Earth and how it had fallen, and you know, we were in cryo sleep for just like years and years. But then it was just like, it was kind of just like a road trip game, giving you random missions in each little area that just didn't seem like they were like significant at all. You know, it was like, can you remember like what what the game like what we did the whole game? We were just going to this place, I guess, where they thought her vision was or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I don't really know if you always have like a solid direction as to what you're attempting to do.
They were trying to line the pods the whole time. They were trying to get those pods.
Yeah, but was that your goal the whole time? You wake up after that cryo sleep. Like the intro sets up this whole colonization thing, and then like after the tutorial, when you get betrayed by some guy and he's instantly dead, and you wake up from cryo sleep and like, okay, the whole game is just a totally different tone now. And you wake up in that junkyard town, and it's like, okay, so now it's like you are the last hope for maybe this post-apocalyptic war front against the savages, and then nope, that changes really quickly to like alien people and wandering outside of the known world.
Yeah,
it's always shifting. You're always meeting funny, kooky characters, and the situations are unbelievable.
Yeah, they're insane. They're insane, dude. It's I don't know, dude. When I just think back to all the cutscenes in that game, I just think it's so it's so funny. It's good.
What's a funny cutscene? There's too many, but what's the first one that comes to mind?
Every time that what's the guy?
Tiago?
The guy. Tiago. Yeah, like anytime he is there, like he's always in the background, but like obstructed by an object, you know, with the blocking of the camera. So then when someone moves away, he's just standing there, and then he says one thing, and then they like go do whatever. And I just think it's like, dude, when he busts in like at the end of the game, oh my god.
When he's so fighting off that monster forever and it's not killing him.
Help me! Help! Oh, dude.
So he's got that like big grin on his face. Yeah, Tiago's the best character.
Yeah, Tiago's for sure the best character in the game. And he's the only one I guess Zahidi was cool, like at the end. But everyone else I just kind of forget everything about. And yeah, it was really funny at the end of the game when it was like, whatever, fuck it, dude. We'll spoil this shit, right?
Yeah, spoilers ahead.
Spoilers ahead for Outriders. Be careful. The funniest part of the whole game is that the only guy to die was like Jakob, our guy. Just one, like all the enemies, every boss fight, every major antagonist was alive at the end of the game.
It's so frustrating.
They all were shown in like the post-credits thing, like they survived, and it was like, oh, only Jakob, our guy, died. And it felt like it was, I don't know, dude. It's just the funniest.
Yeah,
it's the funniest
they
game.
set up in the intro. They set up that guy Seth and and that other guy, the bad guy. And then it's
Moloch.
like Moloch, yeah, and you're like, okay, so there's this whole thing with all you people with superpowers are gonna have some sort of clash, and then you just find
like a
Seth
cool-
later, and he's just fucking dead off screen.
Yeah.
And then you
I thought
fight
there was going to
Moloch.
be some cool push-pull dynamic between those two, or
Something,
like-
anything.
yeah.
But he just dies, and you fight Moloch as that he's set up. He seems like the last boss, but he's just like a boss at the end of like an early arc of the game, and you don't even kill him.
Yeah. And you don't even know that you don't kill him. Like, because we were like, is that it? Is he just dead? Like, what happened? He exploded, right? He exploded or
I
something.
can't
at the
even
end.
remember something.
And
maybe.
it was like, it was the most anticlimactic thing. And then you fight him later as like a post-game challenge.
yeah,
And he doesn't even get like a death scene at the end.
yeah.
And
He just
kill
dies
him.
as like a regular enemy, and that's it.
And your character goes, remember that guy? Yeah, I just fought him. And that's the only recognition. That's the only recognition of the whole time. Like, it's so frustrating, but it's just if you just take it like as just a funny game, it's just hilarious.
I think that one of the most perfect summations of how this game was a really early side quest. I don't even know if you know where I'm going, but the side quests are so funny in the way that they all have their own unique areas that just branch off the map. Like any separate path from the main path is like a literal, like you zone into an instance that's just for the one side quest in the game.
Yeah.
And you would do that one where you have to go save some commander or something, and you find him with the enemy, and then he blows them up with a grenade or something. And it's like, yep, that's war. And then he gets sniped and killed right in front of you. And then you're like, your character says something like, what was the point of all this? And the side quest is over.
Yep. That was so funny because it was like, he's sniped from off screen.
Yeah,
There's just a single. It's not. You don't see the sniper. You don't see any. You're not given a chance to fight the sniper. He's sniped from off screen. Your character has zero reaction to it, and they just go, "Well, that was a waste of time," and they like leave.
And then you get your reward.
And then you get your reward like after the loading screen. Dude. Dude, the loading
Yeah, the loading screens, trust me, I remember.
Okay, so this game does this funny thing where like my boy Cole had just mentioned, each area is segmented, instanced off. And when you go and transition between these areas, there plays a short, like 2-second long, it fades to black. And then it's a 2-second long little thing of your character sidling past a log or
shambling
something like
over a wall.
Yeah, opening up a door, and then it fades to black again, and then you're just standing on just in some area. And sure, we were thinking that must just be like hiding a loading screen or something, right? But you could skip them for some reason. And it was the funniest thing to be like, all right, everyone skip. Like, we've been mashing the escape button to skip.
You have to vote to skip
long.
them, and you wouldn't even have enough time to react to, like, if someone's voting, because it's over. It's so short.
Yeah, it's so funny that you get the option to skip these scenes. It's just, like, funny stuff like that just made this game the just most hilarious experience of just, like, God. Why? Oh, my gosh. And then there were, I don't even know. But, it was kind of a bummer. Like, it felt like, I'm gonna say it. All right, here I go. I'm gonna say it.
Okay.
I might kick myself for this later, but this seems like a game where really having some verticality or more dynamic level design could have done a lot for the game. Because it was, like, really fucking flat. Like, so it was like the level design was so copy paste. Like, oh, there's a sandstone block sitting there. That's where I'm going to be taking cover, I guess. And like, it just felt like obviously an arena, and then you run down a hallway, and then there's another combat arena, and then you run down a hallway, and there's another combat. It was just like rinse, repeat kind of game, like level design. It was really bad. It's definitely open palm game design, because you'd be running down the little fingers and thumbs, and then you'd reach a dead end and there wouldn't be anything there. And then anytime there was like any sort of incentive to be like, hey, a diverging path, and then we'd all sprint down there and be like, what's down here? And then it would just like be nothing. Or like a treasure chest or whatever
One
that
little
just
chest.
drops like trash. It was like exploring was nothing. It wasn't rewarding at all.
Yeah, you just do it for the sake of it. It's funny to think of like how the loot is handed out at the end of the game compared to how it was during the campaign, and like why were we ever mining? What was the mining? Seems like such a waste. Like, why did we do that when you just dismantle shit and you get another exponential? You just get more and more and more as the game progresses, just from the same doing the same thing.
For real. Yeah, it's so strange thinking about how the end game works in this game, and then thinking about like what our focuses were on before all that, like during the campaign, and what we thought the end game would be like. Yeah, you know, like crazily is just in like such a huge difference.
Yeah, I think I don't know if the level design to me was like copy paste, but I think it was funny that anytime they would introduce any verticality with like a ramp or something that you'd have to run up or go around to get, like, the game is so it's like Gears of War in that it's really grounded, so you can't jump or anything, and you couldn't make it up the tiniest lips, or there's like invisible barriers all the time.
So that's going back. That's what I was going to say. I was going to kick myself. I was like, this game could use a little bit of like platforming. You know, you could use a jump button in this game.
Yeah, I don't know if
like
you
could definitely
that. You could like vault over short like ledges, but there was no button telling you could do it. So sometimes there would be little ledges or something the game just wouldn't let you climb over, and you have to run your ass all the way around.
There was no consistency for that, because it was like some things would be like, oh, you could just hop up this little curb, basically, or you are stuck on it and have to take a huge detour around. It was really, really strange, and that's like one of my abilities was cool, because I would jump in the air and I could just land wherever enemies were, and that was my version of platforming. You know, it was cool. I could just jump up and skip like a bunch of layers and just end up right where the guys were and fight them, shoot them in the head.
I had that teleport to enemies, but I took that off very quickly when I suddenly realized that doing it meant an instant death in the middle of a crowd of enemies, because there's no get out.
Yeah, no escape. But yeah, it's really weird to me, and yeah, I feel like it could have been, you know, mitigated somehow by, you know, I just wish there were more. I mean, the like environments seemed pretty interesting sometimes. Like there was some cool environmental stuff, but like it's just so bog standard at this point to just, it like sends a shiver down my spine sometimes when I walk into a room and I just see all these like, there's a pile of overturned crates perfectly aligned against those other overturned crates.
Yep.
And
such a video gamey thing for a cover shooter.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And you stopped using cover. You know, eventually you realize cover sucks.
Cover sucks, and that's something that I could give props to this game for.
Yeah.
It's like, I think the combat design, like the fact that you heal by being aggressive is like super cool.
It's pretty interesting.
I really, really like that. Mm-hmm.
It works differently for every class. So yours was, what was yours? It was just close range deaths of enemies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was right. Yeah, it's close range. Enemies have to die. Yeah, I think it was the same as yours.
Yeah, Trickster was close range. If they died, you would get healed, and for Trickster who had a shield, they'd also get shield. I think they were the only class who got shield. But the other classes, it was like that was just deal damage, right?
Yeah. Technomancer was just deal damage and you heal. I don't know what Pyromancer was.
The fire one was any enemies you like hit with your abilities or mark with them. If they died, you would get healed.
Oh, that seems really restrictive. Interesting.
In some ways it's more free, but you know that's the only way. There's no health packs or whatever, and you could get like leech on your skills or your weapons, you know, as you got a little further in the game, and that could help. But
sitting
in cover wasn't very helpful.
the class thing that Devastator had, you know, that thing I mentioned earlier with the bleeds, you absorb health from enemies afflicted with bleed. And I don't know if there was something like that for every other class too, or if that was just a Devastator thing, but it made my life a little easier.
Yeah, I don't think I saw anything like that for me. Mine was mostly just more bonuses for damage, life steal, life leech on just on the weapon. You know, it was everything in my class encouraged me to get close, be close.
Yeah. Yeah, it was cool how, you know, if you were to stay in cover and just like try to heal over time, because you know, if your health would return to a certain threshold if it got low enough, that you'd heal over time just to this like certain little spot. Like I think it must have been a quarter health, right?
Something around that.
Or a third or something like that. But you know, if you hid for a long time, the enemies would spam grenades or spam like huge AoE things.
Yeah, constantly.
And against like and against like monsters and aliens or whatever, like there's no chance that you're gonna be able to like stay still. You just need to be moving all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But it was cool. I liked that aspect a lot, and it started to feel really fluid for a while, for sure.
I'd agree. Yeah, it was a good take on what would otherwise be just kind of another game where you'd take pot shots with a sniper from behind a pile of rubble or something, and you can do that at the start of the game, but they wean you off of it, I think, in some ways.
Yeah, for sure. But I don't know, the abilities and everything kind of like, yeah, they make it feel good, because in the beginning you don't really have a whole lot of options. You're just kind of stuck with guns.
Yeah,
so
and you unlock your abilities like based on your level, but there's so few of them, so it's like your final ability doesn't unlock until level 22, I think, out of 30.
Yeah.
So you don't even get to play with it and really, you know, come to terms with what it's gonna. I remember you don't even know what they do.
Yeah, you can't even see ahead and know like what they do.
I really liked the last ability that you got, and it was a shame that you didn't end up getting to use it all the time, and I was sad that mine I never used.
I liked mine too. You're talking about Endless Mass.
Yeah, where you turn him into that rock.
Yeah, that was probably one of my favorite abilities for sure. But it turned out to just not be very useful, I guess, in the long run, where we were headed.
Yeah. You know, everything in the game was kind of all over the place.
It did feel like they were throwing darts at just a board, and we're like, let's put this in.
The map. I don't know when is the best time to talk about the map, but I just want to say the map
sucks. The map sucks.
There's a mini map in the game with absolutely no detail on it, and not even a compass. There's no north on it.
Yeah,
that's all they needed, was just to put a little N on there somewhere that points north, and you don't have that. It just shows you and your enemies, like just vague locations.
Figuring out side quests sometimes too was like an exercise in patience, because it was just like it would like lead you. Your fucking waypoint marker would like lead you down like a hallway, and then you'd have to fight through the waves of enemies again that spawn there, I guess. And then you go, oh shit, it's bringing us to the teleporter to teleport us back to where we were for some reason. Like there was so many moments like that.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's so strange.
The navigation was just impossible. The map was so vague. Like the full map was so vague, and it was tough to discern exactly, because I don't know. I think the mini map having any sort of structure to it would have helped a lot. And why add a waypoint if the thing is just going to tell you to go the wrong way? Like a player could go into a world with no map or anything, and kind of feel their way out and get a lay of the land, but these other things just kind of confused you, made it harder.
Yeah, it was super strange. And the world map was just kind of like, getting to the world map was weird. Like, what was it that we had to keep
We would look at you'd look at the area map and it would show you the quests that were there, even if you had done them or something.
Yeah,
Like even if you had completed the
indication.
quest and it was, there's a flag on the map, but that flag isn't you. The area that you are in is denoted by like where the flag would be is like an empty black void or something, and it's not easy to find, or you don't pick up on that. You don't think that's you. That's where you are. It's not like an arrow or something.
Yeah, it was super obtuse and just like not really intuitive or anything. It was strange. And I remember something with it was just like inconvenient to travel anywhere.
Yeah, when you'd want to go to the world map, you'd need to make it look like hell on wheels.
Yeah,
and you'd go to the truck and then get that whole world map pulled up, which was just like a list of zones or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was weird. And just like, playing the game with a party, with a full party of guys was also just like, you needed to get everyone's okay to be traveling to these areas.
Yeah.
Or, which I guess makes sense, but it's just still like your hub until like the end of the game. Your hub it feels like it's lacking some major features in the middle portion of the game. Like until you unlock like the shopkeeper at your place, you know what I mean? Like it just seemed like a hassle to go around and get all these side quests and then like travel to a place and then be like, oh fuck, I gotta check for gear or whatever. I gotta try and see if there's something for sale. And returning quests, I don't know. It was just like, it just felt weird.
It wasn't the smoothest experience. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Having the travel. Yeah, it would have been nicer to just be able to travel to a different like zone in the world just from your regular, like from the flag or whatever. But no, you have to take the flag back to the camp flag and then go talk to a guy and have him transfer you to a different area.
Yeah, that was the big thing.
It's like it's an extra step in this process that didn't need to be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was good. It was good.
I love that you can make it look like hell on wheels too. Like they had the customization for these things. Like they have emotes and you can customize your flag in your car, and it's like so. Like it's just tacked on.
Yeah, it's really minor. Like you can just see your friends' cars, I guess, or your friends' trucks in the camp, and that's about it. You just see them.
Yeah.
At the end of especially at the end of the game, like in the middle of the game, I thought it was interesting that sometimes all your co-op friends would be in the cutscenes with you. Yeah, and there would be moments randomly where it would be like all three of your trucks driving around, and you get to see everyone's hell on wheels trailing behind you. It was cool. But other than that, like there was nothing, like no reason to upgrade your vehicles at all. It was just really funny. Just make the like shittiest looking truck you can.
The only time you see your friends' flags is just when they beat you to placing the flag down, like in the campaign, and then like that's it. It's used so sparingly.
Oh man, speaking of customization, what's up with that character customization?
It's pretty lacking.
Yeah, I was really disappointed by that. I have to bring up that because I was really bummed. There's like 10 hairstyles? Maybe 8 hairstyles? Between 8 and 10 hairstyles to choose from for your character. There's like prefab faces.
Yeah, there was only a handful of those.
Just a small handful of, and then like scars or something.
Oh, there's like makeup?
And then, like beards.
There's makeup, but you can't change the color or something, right?
Yeah, yep. And the hair colors, I think you get like 5 to pick from.
Yeah, but just like it was just natural hair colors, and I think like almost half of the female hairstyles were like half of the side of your head was shaven. It was like half of them were that sort of punk thing going on.
Yeah. A lot of the shaved hairstyles for sure. And like, it's the same with the guys. Like the dudes didn't have a lot of customization either. They had just like variations of the same hairstyle.
And this is a hide helmet game. They have the option to hide your helmet, which almost tells you like, okay, so your character should be able to look good. But no, you almost probably want to wear a helmet.
Yeah, and your character, even if you have that option enabled or disabled, the hide helmet option, your character still in cutscenes will like not be wearing a helmet.
Oh yeah.
So no matter, you can't avoid it. You have to see your character's like ugly mug the whole time. And I was like, ugh, this sucks, dude. And the voice acting, man.
Yeah.
Woo!
It's so it was funny to be able to hear watching the live stream of the male character in the cutscene at the same time as my female character, and you'd think you hear the one side of it and you think, wow, the female voice actor like delivered that line so strangely, it's so flat or lacking, and then nope, you hear the male do the same. So the voice direction was just, what were they doing?
Yeah, it feels like it is almost. The characters have the same energy as like an 80s film hero, like a Steven Seagal type thing, where they just like, they can't act. You know what I mean? They just like deliver these lines like in the strangest, most obtuse ways. It's
Dude,
just so
the
weird.
obelisk, or what was it? What was it? An obelisk? That cutscene?
Yeah. Whatever you're doing, stop it. Right?
Yeah, and the camera doesn't even show you like what's happening. It's just
yeah. There's some big storm. Yeah, just the cutscene direction, dude. Everything was so weird, dude. Like, you're interacting with these obelisks, and then it's like a big storm is brewing, and there's like hardly any sound effects, and then it pans up for like a split second, and it's like just looks like dark clouds or something, and you get a like what? You get a little message over the radio from your guy Zahidi, and he says, "Whatever you're doing, stop it."
Yeah, it's supposed to be so dramatic, and then like it's so flat. The sound was so lacking.
What about
Are you that fire?
What about when you hear the fire, and then when you hear your guys getting attacked, and you hear
Tiago?
What is his name? Tiago going, "They're everywhere. They're everywhere." Like, you could hear them from so far away getting attacked by these monsters.
Every moment of that was so funny, from where the guys are looking in the distance and they're like talking about this massive fire, and you're like, that it looks so small. And then you get there and it's, oh my god, nothing is what, everything that they're like describing you or the characters are reacting to is not what you are seeing and hearing. It's just off.
And that's what is funny about the game, because it almost built a little bit of a mythos for us, a little bit of a lore canon thing for us, where it was like, oh, these bad connection issues where enemies are like zigzagging, they're rubber banding all around. Those are just the anomalies.
That's the anomaly.
All of our worlds. Yeah. There's this entity on the planet that is called like the anomaly storm or whatever, that like changes everything, I guess, how things work, like shit. Physics, reality, it changes all that stuff. So that ended up being our headcanon for all this fucked up stuff in the game. Is just like, damn, this anomaly power stuff, man, crazy.
I'd love kicking. You kick open a door and there's no like sound effect at all until like everyone has gone through it, and then it plays. Like, nothing matches. Yeah, the anomaly really took its toll on this planet.
Yeah, dude, like the speed of sound just, drastically extended.
Yep.
So you're kicking doors open, and and it doesn't happen until much. It's like seeing like an explosion from miles away. You don't hear. You see the visuals first. Yeah. And then hear the sound.
And then you go about your day for a while. The explosion's dissipated, and then you hear it.
Oh man, there's just too many good moments just thinking about this game. Like,
it almost has to be experienced to like fully grasp how wild the narrative of this is. It just doesn't hit at all, I think, the way that they were attempting.
Yeah, for sure. It's very interesting. Like, part of me, we'll definitely be getting into this at some point, but like I'm having this sort of realization now. I'll just say, like, at the end of the day, this game left a real bad taste in my mouth, but I think recounting this stuff and laughing so hard has it's funny. I'm glad to have played it with my guys. Definitely is like a sales game, though.
Yeah.
Like, wait for this game to be on, like, big sale
Yeah.
someday. Like, it's not worth the day one purchase. I mean, it's been out now for a while, but, like, it's...
This is not a $60 game, I'll say that. It's not a $60
definitely.
experience for me, and those are rare, so that's not saying much. But this is like maybe a $20 experience for me at the end of the day.
Yeah, get it on deep.
Not to get
deep
ahead
sale.
of myself, but
Yeah, we're not wrapping it up. We got a lot more to talk about for sure, but just like get it on deep sale with your friends and just play it for a weekend or something like that.
Yeah.
I think is probably the best summation of this game.
that B movie feel. It's like sitting down to watch The Room or something. To me,
Yeah,
you know,
I think that's a pretty apt descriptor.
you're there
Yeah,
for a
it's
bad
totally
time
like
to
that.
laugh at it.
Yeah, and it's, there's times when the gameplay is fun, for sure, but it's just like, I think it's, overall, I think, especially with the end game as it is, just play the fucking campaign. Don't even bother with the end game, I'm thinking. Just like,
I'm ready to
worth
talk
that.
about the end game.
Yeah, let's get into that, and we'll get into the builds and stuff, too, because it's just such a fucking bummer. But,
Where do you start?
where do you start? The end game of Outriders, man. That's where. So you
You
basically, it's kind of like what are those called in Destiny?
in Destiny.
There's something in Destiny where there's like fire fights or fire
Strikes
flash points,
or something?
flash points, strike points, flash strikes.
It's been a long time since I've done the Destiny. I don't think I did those too much either, but
There's something
I
like
think
that.
Destiny players,
Yeah, if you know, you know. So
Yep.
Destiny has this thing where, you go up against you have like a timed challenge, and you have to get through a bunch of guys. You have to kill them as fast as you can. And Outriders has the same thing where you go through. I think there's how many is there? I don't even know how many areas there are, but there's like all these different arenas, and I give them props because each of these areas are new and unique. It's not recycled areas from the campaign,
Yeah.
which is cool. And they all have their own little introductory cutscenes and reasons why you're there, and it's supposed to give you more lore. But guess what? You're on a fucking time crunch from the get-go, so you can't sit there and enjoy any of the scenery or like give a shit about what the characters are saying, because you're like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
I gotta beat this in 6 minutes. I have to beat this in 6 minutes to get the best reward yield. And I remember specifically there's like this really cool, unique, like jungle, ancient ruin area.
that's the one I think of when I think of like what's a pretty area in the post game.
Yeah. And that's the one. And the character even goes, "Wow, what a view!" Like
Yeah,
that.
and you're fucking barreling down like to the next door. Like I don't have time for this.
Yeah, and it's just so obviously contradicts itself. It's just really funny, but it is really, really strange because we had this experience with the end game where they, for some reason, they had all these big issues. They had this character inventory erasing glitch, and they patched the game for some reason to nerf like a character build, and nerf the amount of time that you have to complete these end game challenges for some reason, and then like left that stuff untouched for like another week. The character inventory erasing stuff, and it's so frustrating because we never got to see like what the times were before they made them harder, but there were it was pretty frequent where we would just barely miss gold, like by like 20 seconds.
We missed it by like 2 seconds one time, I remember.
Yeah, and it was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, we were trying our hardest to do this, and they nerfed that stuff to make it harder. And this is like, who is this for?
Yeah, that's a great question for all of this. Yeah, like this isn't like a leaderboard thing where gold should be reserved for only the top tier players, in the world on this game. We were competent at playing this game, I think. We've got some experience, and so going into this and then like missing these golds frequently, and all it does is just gives you shittier rewards. Like you get less, you know. You have to optimize really hard, and a lower chance of getting the good stuff, the legendaries. You know, we ended up. I never even used any legendary armor sets, and hardly got any legendary like guns. It wasn't a viable thing. You probably have to grind like way more than us to actually get your hands on this stuff, and you know, create RNG.
That's the huge thing too, is because like I have no fast forward, there are very similar to the world tier levels, there's also a challenge level of these things, and you have to meet and exceed the times. You have to like get gold on like challenge rank 8 to unlock challenge rank 9, and then you have to get through challenge rank 9 to get through 10, you know, that kind of thing. And obviously the enemies level up and get harder just the same as the world tiers did. So we were kind of used to that. But, you know, by the end of the game, by the end of the end game, you challenge rank 15 is the highest. And, you know, the chance to get legendaries, I can't remember what the exact percentage was. But, like, at the end of the game for me, for my build that I was doing, Devastator... where do I even start with this shit? God damn.
Overwhelmed.
Okay. So, the RNG thing, just for getting legendaries was already annoying, but the fact that, like, my Devastator build also required, like, anomaly power on any sort of legendary armor that I would get, like, I was just fucked, like, all the time. Like, I got some legendary armor, and then it was just like, oh, this set bonus... I don't know. I don't even use these abilities that, you know, this set bonus augments. And also it doesn't have an anomaly power. Just throw it away. Whatever. And it just became, like, so disillusioning. Like, I got disillusioned really, like, hard when I realized, like, holy shit, dude. I have poured all my, you know, every piece of my armor set is built around anomaly power boosts. And I'm still, like... the lowest doing any damage. And it was just like, what the fuck? I don't know. And my weapons obviously were weak, you know? I didn't have anything to boost the bullets that I had like the other classes do. It was just like really, really sad. I don't know.
I wanted to do an ability power build too, you know, but like we mentioned, part of the way through the campaign, it just wasn't working because of the way that the game was scaling, and that probably levels out a little bit, minus the frustrations you had at the end of the game in these expeditions. But by that time, I was already invested in this bullet build, you know, using my guns, and that was, you know, it would have taken more effort to switch off of that and change back, and so I started just optimizing that more and more, and it felt like I had barely any room to optimize it more. It felt like I felt like I was doing well, and still it was so hard to meet those gold requirements or even just outright complete some of these challenges. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I think nothing will summarize that better than just like the last boss, like the final challenge, where we all had been able... I think we golded some challenge rank 14, maybe even 15 things, like, aside from this challenge. Because there were some that we were able to do.
Yeah.
And we go into this final boss fight. It's supposed to be almost like a big raid boss, kind of, I feel. Where there's, like, mechanics.
Yeah.
And there's, like, stuff going on in ads and things like that. And, you know, by this point, we've all had, like, you know, my armor's fully upgraded to boost ability, or to boost anomaly power. I'm sure your guys' builds are all built around. Yeah,
I had my average item level was at the max in the game. So, you know, the only thing I could do further from there is, like, get a better piece and switch a mod or optimize those substats a little bit, like a little bit of tweaking. But I felt like decked out.
So we go into this thing, the gold rank requirement. What was it? 8 minutes.
It's 6 minutes, I think, or something like
6 minutes. 6 minutes to beat the boss. And I think we go in and fight it for about 23 minutes.
Yeah,
until we
like
died.
That. Yeah, the boss had probably like 20% of his health left, and you don't even get to attack the boss until like later in the fight. You have to do all this other bullshit first. So, but he was like almost dead, and we just died.
Yeah, and there's obviously something to be said, like just being kitted out like that much and not even being able to like get a ranked medal or whatever, like to just exceed the time and then not even be able to win. And that was that I was just like, what the fuck, dude? Like, how am I ever going to be able to cobble together something? How am I ever going to be able to win the fight against RNG enough to like get a piece of gear, one single measly piece of gear that will boost my abilities that much? And do I want to even try to grind for that?
Yeah, that was the point where it was like, think of how much time it took us to get there. You know, it cost our third co-op member like a ton of those resources to even let us attempt that mission, and we were nowhere fucking close. It took us so long to kill anything at that point of the game with everything we had poured into it. It was like just asking us to go grind another like 20 plus hours at least to just get better gear and come try it again and hope that was enough.
And you have to kind of ask yourself, am I ready for that?
Is this my forever game?
The answer is no. Yeah, is this my forever game? No, dude. I'd rather grind like Destiny. Destiny 2 felt just so much better to me than this game. Like, I just kept thinking like, fuck, if I'm gonna grind shit,
and this game says it's not a live service, you know. It in ways it did feel like it was supposed to be kind of its own, you know, just a campaign game that happened to be connected online all the time, and then they nerfed those times and that build, so it did kind of feel like a live service. But you know, there's no, can we expect more updates later? That just felt like that was it. That was the end of the game.
Yeah,
but it asked so much of us.
I don't know. Yeah, I just couldn't comprehend how much time I'd have to put in for my build to like make any sense. You know? Yeah,
we already put so much effort into it at that point. I was done. I was thoroughly done with the game, I think, after I even went back. And, you know, I thought maybe I can do a little bit more on my own. And I realized how different the game plays when you're on your own versus when you're in a party, you know, in these time challenges where you have to optimize everything for your damage, obviously, because it's based on time. You have to kill faster and faster and faster. You have to forego as much survivability as you can and squeeze out as much damage as you can to reach these gold requirements. So when you try to play this game solo, you know, when you're in co-op and someone goes down, you can revive them. You have this extra chance. But in solo, the instant anything happens, even if it's bullshit and you go down, it's just over. You lose, you die, you have to start over.
Yeah, okay, hold on. There's no iframes in this game.
Yeah, there's no iframes. I don't think...
There's no fucking iframes, dude. Dodging stuff felt so bad. Like, nothing... When there's these melee enemies who run up to you and are, like, attacking you and staggering you every single hit, it did not feel good at all.
Yeah, that was... There's no stagger resistance in the game, and guys would just bunch up on you, and their hitboxes are so disjointed, and so are the telegraphs that are on the ground. Probably because of how the servers worked. Like, nothing ever felt like it was hitting the way it should, and you just couldn't like consistently react and evade and like play defensively. You just had to kill faster. Yeah.
And there were some cool, like, you were rewarded for, I'm thinking specifically of the alien enemies. Combat against those alien enemies was fucking dumb.
Yeah.
But, like, against the humans, you could like you could see when they're channeling abilities and stuff, and like use moves that interrupt them and cancel their moves, which was cool. Like,
it didn't work for me sometimes. It would just not do anything.
Sometimes. Yeah, but like that stuff was cool that you were able to, you know, prevent certain mechanics. But against the fucking aliens, you're just I don't know. You're just like a punching bag for them to just swat around.
I was built all around like this close range damage. I had to be within like 8 meters, X amount of meters, like really close shotgun range to do my damage, to do anything. And there's that big dog boss that would, if you're within that exact range, he will do nothing but just bump into you and slam the ground around him and constantly stagger you. Just him. It was already like impossible to get any shots off on him. And if anyone else came to the party, it was just over. Fun is over.
Yeah, I don't know. It was such a weird experience at the end of the game for me too, because I was just like, I was the tank, you know. I didn't know if there was aggro mechanic. There's no aggro mechanic, I don't think. It just felt like they would snap onto whoever, like, and then they were focused on them, like, no matter what you do. But I had like moments where I had flashbacks, PTSD flashbacks of the World War I trenches of the earlier game, where I would be like that dog enemy. Like that fucking dog enemy would be chasing me around. Like I would purposely be just running around in a circle, just like hip firing at it and just like popping my abilities every once in a while and just let it just hit me and bash me around while I just waited for you guys to kill it. Even though I was like constantly shooting it, constantly using my abilities on it, it would just do zip 0 damage. And it was just so strange that I just had those moments pretty often. And I, you know, and that's the thing is like my ability power and stuff like that. Like it wasn't, I don't know. I guess it just felt like, how could I become stronger? You know, and it was just really, really, disillusionment, man, big time when I just didn't know how it was possible to meet the standards that your guys' bullets would do. Bullet build, cannon. It's the cannon, dude.
You know those brood mothers or whatever who'd put the fire on the ground?
The cool fire, yeah, really good.
It was just impossible to see, and it would just melt you alive, like, instantly.
Yeah, little tiny wisps of blue fire on the ground, like you couldn't really even tell. And then if you were aiming down sights, yeah, good luck seeing it in the first place. And yeah, like the alphas would put on this like armor that would like, you know, obviously mitigate tons of damage for them. And the cast time is so fast that you don't have like any time to interrupt it. Like I was trying to purposely be like, I got to stop these guys from putting this armor on because it just takes so long to kill them. And their cast time is so short that by the time I would like jump in the air to go down and interrupt them, it would be too late.
Yeah, like, there was like wind up animations for my interrupt too. That like if I if I didn't hit it like within a frame or two of seeing it like immediately appear, I wouldn't make it. And you know sometimes they just do it anyway because interrupts were inconsistent.
Yeah, I don't know. Just like a sour taste towards the end of the game. Like farming just got to be like, what am I doing this for?
Yeah,
you know, any
you just
sort
push
of
further and further into the tiers just because you could. Like there was that story there to chase, but you couldn't really pay attention. I don't know why they built the end game around that timer thing, and if they did, they should have made it like it's better. I don't know. There should have been alternative challenges, or Diablo 3 has those rifts, you know?
Yeah.
Where that's kind of like those, but in those you can like die, and you can, when you kill elites, they drop those orbs and you could fill the meter faster, and like those are like these but better. You know, they should have done it like that, and then they had additional rewards in those rifts that you could only get there. This just gave you legendaries sometimes, and you know, still it felt really rare.
Yeah, it was just like doing more of the same thing. Like yeah, it's the same problem with the side quests. Like there's no variation really in what you do in this game at all. It's just kill fast, or you know, grab an item, and that's it. And there's like no other sort of like, I don't know, especially in these end game things, it just was like, oh, run this same mission. And there were some like that were meta because like the time was, I don't know, there was some that were like super fast that you'd want to run like the short ones, because you could beat them faster. So you just end up doing like the same ones to farm, and it just was like, it's just dumb.
We were waiting until we beat the campaign to hit the end game so we could finally have access to all of the tools to actually play with our builds. But then it also takes so long to get everything online anyway that if it doesn't work out, like, what do? It just shuts you down.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, waiting to be like, oh, I can't wait to test these different build options out, and then realizing, like, oh, fuck, I'm locked in because I sunk so much time into this build. And it's, like, it's not a good idea to switch because I don't have anything ready for any other build. And I don't know. And just using, like, your materials and stuff, like, you could make the case, like, oh, you should have just been saving your gear then the whole game, you know? But
yeah.
Then how are you going to have any materials to upgrade anything of your build now? Or how are you going to have the materials left over to even upgrade these pieces that you've been saving? Like, oh boy.
I think that they could fix it. That's the thing, is it's not too far off from being designed well and being entertaining and like workable, but as it was in the state we played it, it was just a frustration simulator.
Yeah. I agree.
There were just glimmers of entertainment. And then I don't know. I can only imagine the first couple days when the timers were a little more lenient on. I don't even know if it was on every stage or not, but. And all of it was just to get to that last boss, just some nameless mook from the story that was also the last boss of the campaign, who I still don't understand the purpose of.
Yeah, I don't get it either. That was one of the strangest things. And then finding out, that he was alive in that post-credits scene, it was just like, what the fuck? Why is he alive?
He's just some alien guy, right? What? He's the one who killed Jakob, I think, and that's it? Like, he's just some guy? He doesn't even talk?
I'm sure there's some lore around that guy, but it wasn't spelled out in-game at all. You'd probably have to read some extra content, read some logs or something. I don't know. Just thinking, it's such a letdown at the end. I hope they fix it for the future, but I probably am not going to be revisiting it anytime soon unless there's like free content updates. I don't know.
Yeah, I got kind of what I wanted out of it. You know,
I think
a little bit of fun.
Yeah. I think, that's kind of the mindset I had too going into it, was just like, this is a good game. I'm going to, play with my friends, and hopefully I'll just have fun with them and do it. And that was a good game for that, I think. Outriders, it hit that spot.
Yeah. I don't think I would have had any fun playing it on my own. I'll say that much.
Very much so. Eesh. Yeah, so still maintaining, like, wait for a sale, just play with some friends, and it'll probably scratch that itch. You'll have some good belly laughs with your buds.
Hopefully, you have to come at it with it should probably force you down that mindset. You'll come to realize, like, wait, I'm not supposed to take this seriously?
Yeah. If you can take this game seriously, like, I'll applaud you for that. Yeah, like, holy moly, dude. Like, right away, it's just the funniest. I don't know. But is that it?
I don't know. I'm ready to be done with this game. It's mediocre. It's not bad, but it's definitely not good.
Yeah, I think, I remember telling you this. I was like, dude, this game is the definition of mid, but it's like somehow still a good time, I guess. But it's definitely not worth $60, dude. Wait for a sale, for sure.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
But let's wrap this up. That was Outriders, Midnight Snack. What an experience to be had.
I got nothing. I hope Tiago's in Smash or something.
I hope that Tiago becomes a playable character. I hope that they maybe have a Tiago build or something like that. I just want to hear, oh, please, if anything, hire the voice actor for Tiago for more stuff, because he's cool.
Yeah.
Like, he's good. But yeah, yeah, thanks for listening. We got a bunch more episodes like in the works right now.
We got a lot of little snackies for you.
A lot of good content coming up. You know, if you're a Midfes fan, you're gonna be eating good. You're gonna be eating good soon. So just stay tuned. We'll have a lot more cool games to talk about. We hope that maybe that this podcast saved you $60. Or if you want to just get Outriders at full price, go ahead, I guess. But, you know, don't come crying. Don't come emailing us saying, like, hey, you guys made it sound so cool.
I really had to see this Tiago guy.
Yeah, it's $60 is worth seeing Tiago.
Right.
Okay, good night. Have a happy midnight. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Happy midnight.